Grand Rising, beautiful beings. It is Friday today in man's calendar in the working week. And what a week. Oh my God, the wind and the heat. And now the wind's died down and it's cool, but it's still windy outside. So I thought I would stay inside and have a chat from inside today. And I was just sitting thinking about the past couple of weeks. What's gone on, what's happening, and it's got a lot to do with change and other research, because I do that, and looking into there's fixed mindsets and growth mindsets. So I know I've got a growth mindset. I always have. It's always wanting to explore, improve, master, or enjoy, or just be curious. And so with a growth mindset, usually means change. And being autism, not autistic, but calling it autism, I don't do well with change, and yet change is the only constant. So not knowing what I knew back then, what I know now, trying to help myself have a better quality of life, so that my life experience was, one that was happy and healthy. The rabbit holes that took me down, and so learning about change, thinking to myself, why do I have such difficulty with change? What can I do to help myself walk through change a little bit better, with more ease and grace, I suppose is one way of putting it. But yeah, definitely with ease and grace, how to walk through change. So one of the writings I did for myself is actually called Change. And if it is one thing you can be guaranteed of in life, that's change. From the moment you're born, from the moment you're conceived, you are changing constantly, always. Learning, growing, evolving. And how well we cope with change largely depends upon how comfortable you are with change and your conscious awareness of it. So that's what really helped me shift things around, was becoming conscious of change, because instead of being sideswiped or left of center or coming from a direction you didn't see it coming, it's like being aware helps prepare for change in some instances. Anyway, we are blessed with tools to assist with change. So instead of fighting it or resisting it, I think resistance creates the most suffering. Learn to meet it head on with courage, with hope and awareness. Allow change to refine you, not define you. Choices, chances, change. You must make a choice to take a chance, or your life will never change. And some people are okay with that. So this is for people who are going through changes, who do go through changes, who have difficulty with changes, or just want to maybe learn a little bit more about change. And even looking at social, cultural, religious, educational, the changes that all those concepts and constructs are going through. They're going through changes as well in this current time. It's like the world's going through a change, and we're not quite sure what is it changing into. So learning more about your own processes through change helps you to apply those tools when it's kind of like not from the inside out, but the change is coming from the outside in. So change, an revolution is taking place. And it's a grassroots movement beginning at home. That's where change is. There's no point sitting on your lounge, watching television, pointing the finger, and then you keep perpetuating the whole thing that you're pointing your finger at by what you eat, what you drink, what you watch, what you read, where you go to hang out, who you hang out with, all those kind of things. It's all part of the concepts and constructs that we live by. So there's no point sitting on the lounge pointing a finger, because it's not going to do anything. It doesn't change anything. And I think generally what we've seen over the past few years, really and I don't even want to go near the voice, and I think it's always been this. I think we've been under delusions for a long time in regards to the collective's voice, the people's voice. Doesn't really get listened to or heard, because you ask anybody, any muggle, any mundane, everyday person, every non-muggle person, nobody wants war. Nobody wants any of this, but they go ahead and do it. So it's, we don't get listened to. There's lots of things we want changes with, but it doesn't happen. So the change comes from in here. How you want to be in the world. The change you wish to see in the world begins at home. The change you wish to see in the world begins with yourself. Because there's no point you pointing the finger and wanting to oppose on somebody else the change you want to see in the world. We all have free will and choice, and we don't have that power, we don't have that right. Yet some try and do, and that's where we fall into that illusion of we're disempowered, when actually we are very empowered. We just haven't actualized it yet. But that change you wish to see in the world, the more you live it, the more you be it, then at least you're creating that change. And then that can't help but ripple out and inspire somebody else. Or even just you bringing through that change, that vibration, that frequency, that can disrupt other discordant frequencies and give other people choices. By being the change you wish to see in the world, by being the change towards a life you love living, that changes your whole vibration frequency. That can't help but have an impact on the world, and that's a good thing. It's a very good thing. So change begins at home. It begins with you. It's a change on all levels. Physical, getting older, grays, change. Diet, what I eat, what I drink. Emotional. Instead of acting on emotions, inquiring into those emotions. Because a lot of our emotional reactions and triggers aren't necessarily based on truth or fact. And it's the same with our thoughts. So the mental, asking why, checking in, clarifying. This all helps with the change. And as we grow and evolve and learn, and this is the growth mindset, you learn new information, the new thoughts, new wisdom, all starts to expand and change how you perceive the world, how you interface with the world, how you experience the world. So it's a change on all levels. The change to the physical can't help but have an impact on the other bodies, which is the emotional, spiritual, mental bodies. And then that can't help but have an impact or ripple out into your environment. No longer can we hide from ourselves. No longer can we shun others. No longer can we afford to bury our heads in the sand and hoping things will go back to normal. And I wrote this back in, I'd have to have a look, maybe somewhere around 2012, maybe 2013, 14. So even back then, it's like we're hoping for things to go back to normal. It's like, no, what is normal? If seeds didn't grow, we wouldn't have food. We wouldn't have forests. If things didn't grow, we wouldn't be here today. So it really is a natural part of life. And yet most of us have so much trouble with it. For the most part, change is not comfortable, for it pokes and prods us into new and unknown territory every single time, pushing us beyond our boundaries of our comfort zones. And comfort zones do shrink because we don't challenge that edge. We don't exercise that muscle of curiosity or courage or adventure or newness, and comfort zones shrink, and then it becomes even more trickier to try and edge to that edge of your comfort zone and push it to go beyond, beyond, beyond. But the more you do that, the more that it does support your courage, the more that it does encourage you to be curious with the edge of your comfort zone. And that's why it can be uncomfortable as well. Whatever change means to you, though, remember it is occurring to you, for you, in you, with you. You are the one that either makes it or breaks it. You are the one that determines the outcome in how you experience it. You do. You and you alone are in control of how you react to change. I'm just going to read this little bit here. Part 1, it's all in your mind. It is. It's the first universal principle. It's all mentalism. Whatever you hold in your mind will tend to occur in your life. Whatever you hold in your mind will tend to occur in your life. If you continue to believe as you have always believed, you will continue to act as you have always acted. If you continue to act as you have always acted, you'll continue to get what you have always gotten. If you want different results in your life or your work, all you have to do is change your mind. I love that. If you continue to believe as you have always believed, you'll continue to act as you have always acted. If you continue to act as you have always acted, you'll continue to get what you have always gotten. So to change the act, that goes back to the mind, because you've got to question that action and go, okay, what can I act differently to maybe get a different result? And then it's a matter of trial and error. But if you know this one act doesn't get you the results that you were expecting or hoping for or desiring or wanting, and you keep doing it, what's going to change? I think that's the first sign of madness. To keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. So at some point you've got to go, oh, okay, this is not working. And that can rattle you. That can really rattle you, because you've got to stop in your tracks and you've got to face yourself. You've got to ask yourself, suppression doesn't work. Oppression doesn't work. Distraction doesn't work. Denial doesn't work. Avoidance doesn't work. What do you do? And I think that's the biggest challenge with change is, well, then what do you do differently? And I think that's what used to, I'm like, oh, how do you do that then? How do you suspend that thought? And that's what I told myself. Okay, it's just like, well, it doesn't really matter. Try anything. You can always come back to what you've always done. You could always pick up where you left off. So I'm not losing it. It's okay. I can come back and pick up that belief. I can go back to how I was acting. So that's okay. And there was a kind of like a sense of relief knowing that. And then I was kind of like brave to go, okay, let's try a different thought. Let's try a different behavior. Let's try a different action. And that was across the physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional planes. That was to do with being healthy and happy. So the healthy part, the changes I needed to make, that was multi-pronged. So it was what I brought home from shopping, what I bought, what I ate, what I drank, and for what part of my body was I doing these things for. Change, that was all part of change. Wanting to live a happy life, I had to become aware of, well, what was I unhappy about? And if I keep doing the same thing and I'm unhappy, what am I doing? What could I do differently to see if that doesn't make me feel happier? And it's been trial and error all along, experiencing, experimenting, and then you get to know yourself. Then you kind of like get to realize, okay, a theme that runs through you, a thread that pulls you towards what it is that you are seeking change about. So whatever it is you are going through now, whether good, bad, or indifferent, that is instigating change. More than likely is showing you something that you need to see, acknowledge, or embody. So whatever you're going through now, whether good, bad, or indifferent, that is instigating change, that's creating change around you or in you or for you, it's showing something that you need to see. That's what change does. We either need to see something new or we need to see something that wasn't working. So let's have a look at change from the macro to the micro and everything in between. Don't forget that this is all about bringing change into the conscious awareness. This is about bringing your attention different perspectives on what change is beyond the current realization that you may already have. So this is bringing change into the conscious awareness. This is you looking at the changes that are occurring in your life. So instead of resisting them and wanting things to stay as they are, even if you're miserable about them, even though it's not feeding your soul or filling your cup, but hey, let's just keep to this status quo because then at least I know what it is and it doesn't matter about being happy. If that's your choice, then stay with that. So this is for those that don't want to settle for the status quo, that want to strive for thriving, that want to strive for experience, or they want to strive for what they know they can. And that's the growth mindset, I suppose. So this is about bringing to your attention different perspectives on what change could be. It's what you make of it, really, at the end of the day. Every day, this planet is moving through the universe. So this is the macro view. Never in the same place twice. That's change. Constantly changing, constantly moving through space. No 2 days are identical. That's change. Nothing's ever the same. Something shifts, something changes. Not quite the same. This all happens even when you are unconsciously aware of it. You've never even thought of it that way before. And regardless of being unaware of it, it's changed nonetheless. Whether you know about it or you forget about it or you're not thinking about it or it's not in your face, it doesn't mean it's not changing. It is changing. Every day it changes. The sun, I watch it shift as it rises. So as it gets warmer, the sun shifts further this way. As it gets, into winter, the sun rises back over this way. It's change. The seasons change, weather changes, because that's all dependent upon currents and air cycles and warmth and coolness and the tilt and the everything is change on the macro level. Change is also the natural evolutionary process of being alive and being human. Change happened at the precise moment of your conception. From that moment where two cells met, right through to the moment your body changes with its final breath and dies, your body is continually changing. Even me thinking I'm sitting still, I'm not. I'm breathing, so my chest shifts, moves up and down, but I'm on the planet that is shifting through space. So I'm constantly going through change, and I'm not even aware of it. A mind that is stretched by a new experience can never go back to its old dimensions. So giving myself that comfort of, I can go back to what I used to think and feel and do and act and all those things, that false sense of security, but realizing, well, no, I can't, because it is part of me. That has been a part of me. That's not in the driver's seat anymore. I parked it into the passenger seat and decided to drive a different way. And then as time goes on, and then that driver gets into the passenger seat, and then whatever was in the passenger seat shifts into the back seat. And then new direction, new change, new do-do. And then all of a sudden there's another, okay, I'm going this way, or this is happening. So if there's a shuffle, then all of a sudden what was in the driver's seat, even though it's still part of me, is now in the boot. Not buried, but it's just part of the whole structure of me. It's just not in the driver's seat anymore. There's also environmental, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual change. These last sets of changes, which is more the micro, actually those changes rely on your interpretation and what meaning you give it. I think we forget about that we forget that we can apply meaning. We get to choose the meaning we give change or our life. That's our choice, and it doesn't need validation, acknowledgement, approval. What it needs to be is an alignment with you. Life has no meaning until you give it meaning. When you sit with that, really sit with that statement. Life has no meaning until you give it meaning. So if you look at all your experiences, everything, past life, this life, future life, whatever, you give it meaning, and somebody else watching your story will have a completely set of different meanings to apply to it than what you to apply to it. So what meaning are you giving it? What meaning are you giving your life? Are you valuing it? Are you valuing yourself? These are really good questions to ask. And it's like, well, if not, why not? And if not, what are you going to do about it? And if not, will you do something about it? So, and then it's also owning your choices and your decisions, owning it. Don't own it and then piss, whinge, moan about it. I mean, you can, but where does it get you? Very far, does it? And that makes you sit around in your own goop all day. We had to have a pause in recording because the reception fell off. So I've just moved. We'll try again. There we go. That'll just have to do for the time being. Anyway, while we finish this, I'm going to yoga this morning. Oh, I don't know how I'm going to stop that from moving. That might do if I keep my arms stiff. Oh, now where were we? Life has no meaning, what you give it. The meaning you give life. That is so vital. It's so important. And you can choose to do nothing about it. It's your life, free will and choice, how you want to experience it. But if you know within yourself that things could be better, things could be magical, that there's something more waiting for you out there, or if it's just adventure or experience or love or life, then you've got to walk yourself towards it and do things differently. If you don't have that in your life, if you have that in your life and you're living a life that you love, that is beautiful and so blessed and good on you. I'm living a life that I love. I realized a few months ago, all the dreams I dreamt years ago, I'm actually living. And it was an amazing epiphany, realization, aha moment, connecting all these dots and going, wow, this is what I asked for. And loving that. Next is just manifesting the divine partnership. That's the last, I think, on the to-do list of what I want to experience this lifetime before my time is up, because we're all destined to pass. So, environmental change is when you have not instigated change, but you are, however, experiencing change due to someone or something else involving you. Changes in your workplace, for example, a natural occurrence like a storm. These are changes that impact you that you may not have seen coming, but definitely affect you because it's your life. It's part of your life, where you live or where you work. These things do affect change because it's not the same anymore. Something has happened that's created, more than likely, a negative impact. So then how do you shift through that? There would be grief, there would be new responsibilities, there would be lots of changes to navigate going through that. Physical change is when you're encountering a change in your body, whether for better or worse. Ill health, like type 2 diabetes, is a modern lifestyle disease. Aging. And then I just thought of another one. Pregnancy. Pregnancy is a change as well. And that's an amazing, powerful, positive change. I'm just trying to set myself up. Hang on. And first-time pregnancies, wow. You've got no idea what you're in. You'd have no idea what you're in for until you're in it. So that's physical change. Mental change is when you are learning, understanding, comprehending something new, different, or unexpected. So researching, studying a new language, for example, that's change. Emotional change is sometimes due to our hormones fluctuating as part of maturing due to illness or self-understanding. A relationship breakup is a great example of emotional change as well. Spiritual change is when we begin to learn and understand and embodying new spiritual concepts and philosophy, for example. Quantum physics, realizing that our DNA emits a light, so we're light bodies at the end of the day. We're all just this vibration that has been slowed down to give us this matter, this physical experience to live in. It's all change. Change is constant and is around us always. But instead of struggling with natural changes, instead of resisting man-made changes or personal changes that are occurring around us and inside us, we can become at one with change. And as always with these kind of changes, it's entirely up to you how you want to deal, react, respond with it. All great changes are preceded by chaos. You ever felt that? It's like things are just not harmonious. They're not congruent. There's things are happening and you start to feel the chaos and the shifts inside or the environment around you. You can almost sense change coming. That's the chaos. But chaos is also the void. And it's in that chaos and in that void what threads you pull on as to what pattern then you reweave out of this change. It's not chaos, it's potential. What threads are you going to pull to weave through this change? The more you can keep your mind open to think of an alternative perspective, the easier you'll be able to navigate your way through change. And that's a tricky one, keeping your mind open. More often than not, it is helpful to come from a detached perspective so you can get a bigger storyline understanding. So with those changes, like I talked through, the environmental, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual change, what's the storyline? What's the storyline behind it? What led up to? What are you experiencing and looking forward? What are the options? What are the potential? What are the threads coming from this change? And sometimes you actually need to sit with the changes that are presenting so that you may know best how to respond, especially if it's change that's come unexpected. We need to sit with it. Whereas other people, when the change has been instigated by you, you've already sat with the changes for a while. You've already sat with the sensations and the feelings. So you're a step ahead of those that may be impacted by the change that you're instigated. Domino effect. And during the sitting with it stage, do not be afraid to ask questions. Do not be backward in coming forward with helping yourself understand more of what is going on so you can come from an informed, empowered place, not a knee-jerk emotional space. And if you're you have every right to ask questions. You have every right to seek clarity, especially if this change involves you. If you butt up against people that block your questions or will not give you answers, won't communicate clearly, do not take that on board as something personal. That's just showing you the other person. It's not you. So you may have to seek other avenues, other revenues to find your answers or clarity that you're seeking if you butt up against brick walls or deaf ears. Then there is change that at times seems awful, intense, challenging, negative, and destructive. And not only in hindsight, but even years later, does it give way to something more positive. But at the time of the change, we're not privy to such foresight. So if something you're going through at this moment seems awful, intense, challenging, and negative and destructive, it may not be until hindsight many years later, and it doesn't have to be years, it could be months, it could be days, hours, and even if it is years, and looking back, and this is where you see with hindsight that experience, you actually had to go through that experience to get to where you are today, and it's helped form you, it's helped refine you, not define you. But at that time of the change, we're not privy, and that's why it's like looking at the storyline, looking at the bigger storyline of whatever change you're going through. Because there could be something better in store for you down the track. So part of helping to cope with change is having a spiritual understanding of how life works and the scientific understanding of how energy works. Like attracts life, belief manifests in physical reality. So that's the first part of change I wanted to touch on and share with you today. And sorry about the interruptions and the moving around. You get that when it's ad hoc and real. So change, I'm going through changes at the moment. Just coming to sit with and be comfortable with this new awareness about how I interface with the world and what makes me tick. And there's been such a deep sense of peace with it all, which is beautiful. So have a beautiful day, beings. If you are going through change, remember you are not alone and you have tools. And I guess that when you're going through change, patience is a tool you need to practice. Curiosity is another good quality to embody when you're going through change. Compassion for yourself and anyone else the changes may be impacting. Surrender and trust. I think trust is like being the biggest word that's come through for me the past few months is trust. Keep trusting. Have a beautiful day and I'll check in soon. Aho, amen. So mote it be.